Have you ever felt like your life is a script written by someone else, where you're just an extra sitting in the back seat? What if I told you that the greatest success of your story depends on a single word you're afraid to say, but that a seamstress used to bring down an empire without firing a single shot?
Today, we're going to reveal how Rosa Parks used a mental leveraging so powerful it would make any Nike billionaire green with envy. Stay until the end, because I'm going to give you the secret of the silent victory that will turn your procrastination into an indestructible legacy, something 99% of people will never have the guts to apply. Honestly, Daniel, it drives me nuts how this generation thinks resilience is surviving 10 minutes without Wi-Fi. Rosa Parks didn't have a mindset coach whispering in her ear. She had a purpose made of steel and a level of discipline that would make a drill sergeant cry. She knew exactly who she was, a self-knowledge so deep that the fear of being arrested was nothing compared to the outrage of being treated like a subhuman.
You're right, Karen. While kids today need safe spaces and therapy because someone used the wrong pronoun, Rosa sat on that bus with a focus that paralyzed an entire system. Her mindset was simple: I am not moving. It wasn't physical tiredness. It was an awakening of dignity that many today trade for 3 likes on Instagram. If you want to understand what mental toughness really is, I suggest watching the documentary The Rebellious Life of Mrs. Rosa Parks, or reading her biography by Douglas Brinkley. It's the reality check this youth is missing.
And the irony is, she was a seamstress, Daniel. The woman worked with her hands, but her mind was building a transformation that no one saw coming. She had that quiet spirituality, that faith that doesn't need a church stage to prove itself, you know? It was a realistic optimism. She didn't think the world would change in 5 minutes, but she decided that progress began the exact moment she refused to be invisible.
Exactly. She was the embodiment of strategic creativity. It's not just about painting a picture, it's about redesigning reality with a single gesture. People today talk about living with purpose in their LinkedIn bios, but Rosa Parks lived it, becoming the icon she didn't ask to be, but destiny demanded. Anyone who wants to actually apply this empowerment in real life should start with the basics, having the discipline to keep your word, even when the whole world is screaming that you're wrong.
Preach, Daniel. She didn't need a "just do it" slogan slapped on her face. She just did it. The parallel with Nike here is unavoidable. While the brand sells the idea of overcoming, Rosa delivered the finished product without charging royalties. She was raw inspiration, no social media filters. And speaking of making things happen, how did that inner strength translate when she actually spoke or refused to? Her next move was what truly set the segregation playground on fire. Daniel, we talk about leadership, but Rosa Parks redefines the concept. She didn't have a megaphone. She had a presence that radiated empathy for an entire people and a proactivity that no one expected from a quiet woman. She didn't negotiate her seat. She forced a negotiation with history itself. While kids today think changing the world is putting a hashtag on a whale's tail photo, Rosa put her own life on the line. It's the difference between marketing and real transformation.
Spot on, Karen. And let's be real, today's couch activism is a joke. People write long posts, cancel brands, but won't stand a drop of rain to go to a real protest. Rosa had brutal active listening. She heard the cry of the streets and acted. Hey guys, what do you think? Does this digital activism actually generate progress? Or is it just an ego massage to look woke? Comment below. Are you team real action or team #saves-lives? I want to see the fire in the comments.
I know which side I'm on, Daniel. Rosa Parks used nonverbal communication to scream to the world. She had a strategic collaboration with Martin Luther King and other leaders, but she was the spark. She didn't wait for an ethics committee to give permission. She gave herself permission to exist. It's like Nike says, just do it. But Rosa did it in a setting where doing could cost your life. not just a blister on a marathon runner's foot.
Exactly. She was a master of persuasion by example. If you want to learn how to influence people without opening your mouth, study the Montgomery bus boycott. It was a masterclass in logistics and resistance. For those who want to dive deeper, the movie Boycott 2001 shows exactly how this leadership network was formed. It wasn't a viral post, it was sweat, organization, and people walking miles on foot to avoid surrendering to humiliation. That is true empowerment.
And check the hook, Daniel. Her stance wasn't just about politics, it was about an unshakable character that leads us straight to the moral question. She wasn't being a rebel without a cause, she was justice itself sitting on four wheels. And that firmness makes us wonder, how far does your responsibility go for what is right when no one is watching? Or better yet, when the whole world is watching and expecting you to bow your head?
Karen, what fascinates me about Rosa is that her ethics weren't flexible. Today, people preach transparency on social media, but behind the scenes, it's a free-for-all for money. Rosa Parks knew that integrity comes at a high price. She lost her seamstress job right after the protest. Imagine real-life canceling with no block button and people coming for you in the streets. She didn't sell her character for convenience, and that's what I call true success.
Like I always say, Daniel, integrity is doing the right thing even when the world pushes you toward the wrong one. She had a responsibility that went beyond her own skin. Justice for her wasn't an abstract legal concept. It was something you exercised by sitting in the wrong place to prove what's right. If you want a practical example of how to armor your morals, look up the Highlander Research and Education Center, where she trained. It wasn't luck, it was character training.
Exactly. And look at the contrast. Nike spends billions to appear ethical and socially responsible, but Rosa Parks was responsibility in the flesh without a marketing department. She teaches us that your legacy depends on how many times you said no to what is easy and yes to what is fair. Quick question, guys. Would you sacrifice your job today for a cause you believe in? Or does your integrity have a price tag and take monthly installments?
Controversial, Daniel, but necessary. Rosa Parks didn't seek immediate recognition. She sought consistency. The moral awakening she triggered was so strong that we're still discussing the consequences today. She proved that ethics is the foundation for any prosperity worth having. Without it, you might have money, but you'll just be another empty rich person that no one truly respects when the lights go out.
And it's this moral foundation that allowed her to achieve what we'll see in the next block. Because, Karen, morals without results are just theory, and Rosa delivered the full project. She wasn't just right, she had victory. And we're going to see how this ordinary seamstress ended up generating a historical leverage that changed the moral GDP of the entire planet. Karen, what Rosa Parks achieved is every CEO's dream. She generated exponential growing without spending a dime on paid ads. The bus boycott lasted 381 days and broke the financial legs of the segregationist system. That is real productivity. She didn't just want to make a scene, she wanted the success of the cause. The result? The Supreme Court had to cave. That's what I call a historical victory.
For sure, Daniel, and her legacy is so solid that decades later, she is still the ultimate icon of freedom. While many today seek ephemeral recognition through 15 minutes of fame, Rosa built a moral prosperity that paved the way for millions. She didn't get money rich immediately, but the sustainability of her name is infinite. For those who want to understand this impact, the Rosa Parks Museum in Montgomery is a lesson in how a small move generates a multiplying of results.
And the lesson for everyone is clear. Stop looking for easy income and start investing in your personal developing and the impact you leave behind. Rosa Parks was the source of global change. If she had accepted the status quo, she would have been just another anonymous seamstress, but she chose victory.
It's the perfect contrast. Many use Nike shoes to run from their problems, but Rosa used her own presence to face hers and win.
Exactly. She proved that progressing isn't an accident, it's a decision. If you want to have success in life, you need to understand that big results come from big sacrifices. There's no point in wanting to be a millionaire of followers if you don't have the discipline of a soldier. Rosa Parks gave us the permission to fight. Now it's up to you to have the empowerment to act.
We've finished the main topics, Karen. Rosa Parks truly was the master of turning a moment of crisis into an enabling for the future. The incentive she leaves us is that no one is too small to change the world, as long as they have the right focus. So guys, are you ready to get off the bus seat and take the wheel of your own lives? So, are you going to keep sitting in that back seat waiting for life to give you permission to be someone? Or are you going to take the wheel like Rosa did? History doesn't remember those who stayed silent for fear of losing their Wi-Fi or their mediocre job. It remembers those who had the character to say no to injustice. What have you done today to ensure your legacy is bigger than a forgotten social media profile?
It's time for the awakening, guys. Don't procrastinate your transformation. If Rosa Parks, with all the limitations of 1955, generated this global growing, what's your excuse? Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because the next personality might be the push you need for your independence. And tell me one thing in the comments. Which city are you watching this video from while feeling this reality check? Oh, and if you want to materialize this strength, there's a link to buy Lego in the first pinned comment.